Hi, it's Marcus Adams here, the designer of Pitch Battles, the football derby strategy game. And in this video, I'm going to be running through the example of play which you find within the rulebook. Now the rules are divided into a number of sections, so you can learn the games progressively. But you only need to learn the first part, the core rules, in order to play your first game, which is a pre-season friendly. And at the end of that section, you'll find an example of play which consists of 2 rounds, a kick-off round and a normal action round. Now in pitch battles, once you're fairly proficient with the rules, you'll probably get through those 2 rounds in about 5 minutes or so. But for this example, I'm going to be going really slowly to make it as easy as possible for you to follow the action. Now in the last video, we looked at how to set up the game. And so this sort of follows on directly from that. You'll have got your star player tokens out. That's numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 and 11. Now it's the same numbers for both teams, same shirt numbers, but that doesn't mean to say the teams are identical. Each player has his own different characteristics, different statistics, and so for example player number 7 for blues is not the same player as number 7 for reds. So you've got your star player counters out, ready to be positioned. You'll put a loose ball token on its base. You'll have put your timer token on the timer track, ready to go. And of course you'll have got your starting decks completed. This is the blue starting deck, comprising your star player cards, your teammate cards for the lesser players in the team, and some motivation cards, and there's 14 cards in that starting lineup. Just outside of view here you've got the 2 dugout boards as well, and so they allow me to bring extra cards into the deck as the game progresses. But with that, we're pretty much ready to go. Just to say before we go any further, obviously I'm going to be playing both teams in this example, so I've put the blue deck here and the red deck here. Normally these would be off the board, and I'm going to be playing out the cards into each player's hand in these areas here. Obviously these would normally be not revealed to the opposition, but as we're playing through this example, I'm going to put the cards just at the bottom of the view here, so you can see them. So first thing we're going to need to do is decide who's going to kick off. So you toss a coin for that. Now in the example of play, blues won the toss, so that means they will draw their kick-off cards first. So we'll draw, and it's only 3 cards for the kick-off round. So let's just see what blues have drawn, and according to the example of play, they have drawn 1 player card, that's for number 5, 1 midfield teammate card and a defender teammate card. So based on what he's looking at, the blue's going to decide how he's going to set up his team. So I'm going to put the counters out according to the example of play, and he's going to have number 9 actually take the kickoff. Got number 11 out on the wing here, 7 in the middle, 5 in this location on the right hand side, and then the 2 defenders, we've got number 3 over here and number 2 in the central position. So he's sort of biasing the left hand side of the pitch slightly. So once blues are set up, that means the non-kicking off player then sets up. He gets his 3 cards. He's got a forward teammate card, the number 5 player card, and he's got another player card for number 3. So that's his starting hand in the kick-off round. And so he's now going to position his players onto the pitch. And in this example, we've just got these forwards on the left hand side. We've got number 7 and number 5 around the centre circle, and then number 2 and number 3 setting up for defence like that. So we've got our starting position and we're already good to go to really start the kickoff round proper. So what happens here is that number 9 is going to make a distribution, and it's got a distribution phase where number 9 will pass the ball to one of his members of his team. Now he's not restricted by his skill rating and his ability to pass the ball. In this example, he can actually pass it to anybody on his team, and in this example of play he decides to pass it to number 5 on the basis that he's got his number 5 player card. So you would flip over number 9 to show he's no longer in possession, and then flip the number 5 card, a number 5 token over, so he's now in possession. Now in a kick-off round, there's no on-top phase like there are in the normal action rounds, and we'll come on to that in a second, of course. And the non-kicking off player will always play the first card. And in this example, Reds decides to play their player card for number 5. So I'm going to be putting these, as you would normally do, into the tactical zone. But while I'm describing the card and the options available, I'm just going to leave it here for a second. So when a manager plays a player card, obviously he can activate that particular player. So he could activate number 5, and that would allow him to do primary actions. And there are 5 primary actions that that player could do. That's move, in which we look at his move value there, which is 3, and that means he can move up to 3 spaces. He's got a skill value of 2, which means he can shoot and pass with that skill value. Shooting is the number of dice he will throw, passing is the range that he can pass, and he can then tackle. You see he's got a tackle value, so if he was in the location of an opposition player with the ball, he could make a tackle attempt. So that's 4 potential actions he could do, and a 5th one is the receive action, which doesn't use any of those primary values. He just, if he can move adjacent to a teammate who's got the ball, he can take possession of the ball. We'll come on to that in a minute, but there are 5 potential actions that you could do if that player is activated, and he can do many of those that he's eligible to do. And as I say, we'll look at that in a bit more detail in a minute. But the other thing you can do when you play a player card is not to activate that player in the normal way. If you look at the bottom of the card, there's a little reminder there. It says, or use card for the move yourself general action. And if you don't want to activate that particular player, you can still use the card for this move yourself general action, which allows you to move any one of your other players in your team 1 space and 1 space only with no other actions. There are 2 restrictions to that. One is he can't have the ball. Well, that's not obviously applicable here because red players aren't in possession, so that doesn't apply. The other is that that player cannot be activated in the normal way at all in that round. So in other words, you couldn't use that for number 3 because you've got a player card in your hand, and you'd be a bit unwise to waste that effectively by moving that through the move yourself general action, because he couldn't be activated later in the round. But in this particular example of play, Reds are going to use that card to do the move yourself general action. So we'll put it over here in the tactical zone, and what he's going to do, he's going to use that to move his number 9, and that number 9 is going to move towards the number 5 with the ball, and that is Red's card played. So now play goes across to the Blues to play one of their cards, and with their number 5 they could obviously activate their number 5 who's got the ball, but they could also move him with a teammate card. They've got this midfielder teammate card, so rather than activate him just yet, they're going to use their teammate card over there to move him just 1 space. Remember, teammate cards in the pre-season friendly, all they can do is move a player of that position 1 space with no other actions. But it's not activation. I think that's another thing I need to bring into into the conversation here is you don't actually activate a player when you use a teammate card. Any player on the pitch can be activated up to twice in a round, but moving him through a teammate card or other ways is not classed as activation. You need a player card to be played in order to activate him. So he's moving these. He's going to be using that teamwork primary action on his player on that teammate card, and he's going to move one space, and he's going to move infield like that. So play switches back to the Reds, and the Reds manager's got 2 cards left in his hand, a forward teammate card and number 3. Well, he wants to keep his powder dry, I suspect. At this point, he wants to see what Blues are going to do. So he's going to hold back on playing his defender star player card for number 3. What he's going to do is he's going to play his teamwork card for forward. So remember that the teammate card can move either any player of that particular position. So in other words, Reds can move either their number 9 or a number 11, and it's moving one space with no other action. So we're going to put his card there. And in this example, he's going to carry on, and he's going to get moving number 5 into the opposition half, like that. So then we go back to Blues and what Blues do. So at this point, they are going to activate their number 5 with playing his player card there. So he's got a move of 3, a skill of 3, and a tackle of 2. Well, tackle obviously is not relevant at the moment because he's actually in possession of the ball, but he's certainly going to want to move, and he may want to shoot, or he might want to pass the ball at some point. But in this example of play, what he's going to do is he's going to try and move across, exploiting a gap in the defence. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and across the halfway line like that. Now he could pass the ball, so he can do any of these actions once during a turn that you're eligible to do. So he's moved, and now he could pass the ball. He can't shoot the ball, of course, because he's not in a numbered space in the opposition half. So in this particular instance, he's not going to pass though. He could pass because his skill is 3. He could pass with anywhere within a range of 3. It could equally an empty space as well as one of his players on his team. But he's not going to do that. He's going to hold on to the ball and keep his options open. So we're just going to put the card in the tactical zone, so it's been played. And now this is quite a critical point to make here. It would normally be Red's turn to play, but there is a rule which is the last card turn order rule, which is relevant at this point in the round, because what that says is that if you're down to your last card in your hand, and the opposition have possession, which obviously is a position here. The Blues have possession, but it's Reds due to play. Reds can hold back that card, and they can make the Blues team continue to play cards, and he's going to do that. He could play that card if he wants to, but he's going to say, no, I'm holding my card because you've got possession and I've got my last card, and I'm going to force you to play your last card. So it's Blues defender, teammate card. So again, he can move player 2 or number 3 one space with no other actions, and given where number 9 is, Blues are going to move their defender to cover that there, like so. So given that Blues have played their last card, Reds are now going to go for glory. They're going to play their 3 player card. I'm going to put it up there in a second because I just want to mention. So what he's going to do, he's got a move of 2, and so he's been within range of the opposition player with the ball. So he's going to move into that space, 1, 2, and he's going to make a tackle attempt. So this is where we're going to see how a tackle works. So normally you look at his the tackle line on his card, and it says tackle 4. But the critical point here is there's a little red asterisk. Now, what that means is normally when that player makes a tackle, he will use that number of dice. So in this case, 4. But because there's the asterisk there, that's pointing out that he will only use that 4 dice if he's in his half of the field. And of course, and he's judged to be not in this particular case. These centre line spaces, the lighter ones, are not in anybody's half, so he's outside his half effectively, and that means he will only roll, if he makes a tackle outside his half, he will only roll 2 dice. And so we'll put that over there. So rather than 4 dice, he's taking a little bit of a gamble. He's going up to midfield to make that tackle, and he's going to roll 2 dice. So in this example of play in the rulebook, he's going to roll 2 dice for his tackle, and this is the dice that he rolls. So he rolled a yellow and a red dice. So at this point, this is where we need to consult the PFS results table, and how this works is pretty simple in the PSF, because there aren't that many options for what players can do that need to be resolved through dice. It's either shooting, or goalkeeper potentially saving, or tackling, and tackling is along the bottom row. So you would look along that bottom row, and you would find which column equals the dice throw that you've thrown. So in this case, the first column says dice of your colour. Did he roll a dice of his colour? Well, he's playing for reds, he's thrown a red, so yes, so that would apply. So well tackled, so in effect he has now managed to take possession of the ball. The tackle was successful, and he would be the player with the ball, and we'll see how that resolved in a second. But just to say, if it hadn't happened, if he hadn't rolled a red, and he hadn't rolled if he'd rolled a single black instead, then that would have been a foul, and we'll come to that a bit later on. And if he hadn't rolled a single black or one of his colour, a red, it would have been another result, and he wouldn't have gained possession. So the Blues player would have maintained possession. But no, he did roll a red, so he takes possession. And how that's resolved is that, well, obviously we flip the tokens over, because now red's number 3 has the ball, and Blues number 5 doesn't. And number 5 is displaced to any adjacent empty space. So in this case, obviously, given there's a threat, he's going to move to block off 3 in that way. And when you've made a successful attack, of course, you can continue this activation. You cannot continue moving if you hadn't used all your full movement. But what you can do is you can make a pass action, and he's got to decide. So if we have to look again, skill rating of number 3 is a 2, so that means he can pass to any of his players or an empty space within a range of 2. And in this example, yes, he's going to pass to his number 7 over here. So we just flip the tokens over to show that. And that marks the end of the round, because neither manager's got any cards left. And that is the end of the kickoff round, so we need to go into the first action rounds. First thing we're going to do is put our used cards from the tactical zone into a discard pile. I'm just going to put these on the side of the pitch here so that you can see them. And then we need to start an action round proper, and that's done by drawing 4 cards, not 3. And in the Blues case, in the example of play, they draw the manager card, another defender teammate card, their assistant coach card, and their number 9 card. So I'm putting them out here so you can see what the player would have been in his hand. Obviously normally the opposition wouldn't see this. And the Reds have drawn another defender teammate card, their Blues, their number 2 player card, their number 11 player card, and also the referee card. So between the 2 hands we've got examples of all 3 motivation cards, the assistant coach, manager and the referee, and we're going to see how they're used in a second. Now for normal action rounds, the first thing you're going to have to do is determine who's on top for the round, effectively who's got the advantage of the other team for this round, and which really means who's going to play first with their cards. And how you resolve this is by each manager is going to pick one of those 4 cards in their hand, and they're going to look at the influence number in the top right hand corner. You see all cards have a number in the top right hand corner. This is their influence number, and you're going to pick one of those cards each and then reveal those at the same time, and whoever's played the card with the highest number, the influence number, will be on top this round and will play the first card of the round. The only problem, and the thing you need to bear in mind is, of course, is that that card that is used for the on top phase is not retained for this round. It is discarded immediately, and needless to say, the better cards have the higher numbers. So if you really want to go first in the round, which sometimes happens, you're going to have to commit a high value card, which is sort of painful to do. But on the other hand, it does allow you to go first, but you will discard that card. So, and in the example of play, we see that Blues are keen to get the ball back, and they've got a problem because they don't have a good player card to get the ball back. The only one that they've got is number 9, and he's got a tackle value of 0. He's a striker. He's not interested in tackling. So what are they going to do? So they're going to play him for the on top phase, and meanwhile Reds, who are obviously going to try and see if they can work their way into an attacking position, they're going to use up their defender teammate card. So if we compare those two cards, the Blues player's got an influence number of 2, teammate card always has an influence number of 1. So Blues are going to be on top for this round, and they're going to play the first card. So we've immediately put those into the discard piles, and Blues are going to be playing the first card. So which card are Blues going to play? Well, yes, we can see here that there's a reason that they wanted to be on top this phase, because they were keen to play their manager card. And if you play your manager card, you'll see that in blue he's got 2 potential special actions he can use. He can only use 1, but he can go up the tempo, or he can do a power play special action. And up the tempo is drawing cards from your dugout board and putting those cards into your discard pile, so they will eventually get recycled into your deck. But it's, for the moment, he's keen that his team gets the ball back, so he's going to play the power play special action. This is power play 2, so that's what you do there. So let's put that card over there in the tactical zone. He's going to draw 2 new cards, and he's going to put those straight into his deck. So it's a very powerful action, straight into his hand rather. And he's drawn a teammate forward card, and critically he's drawn a defender card, the number 3. So pretty happy about that, I suspect, Blues manager, that he's been able to bring a defender player card into his hand. So that's his action done. We then move across to Reds. So we see here now where Reds have only got 3 cards, Blues have now got 4 cards, and Reds will play next. So it looks as if Blues are going to end up playing the last card. They've got an advantage in cards because of that power play special action. So Reds need to be a little bit careful, but on the other hand, they do see an opportunity here. And what they're going to do is they're going to use their number 2 card, play a card for number 2, and he's going to move 2 spaces. He can move 2, and he's going to move 1, 2. And as well as move, there are actually 2 other primary actions he can perform. Because he's adjacent to another one of his team with the ball, he can perform that receive action, and he can gain the ball. So in this case, we flip over number 7, and number 2 can gain possession. And the other thing he can do is he can also pass the ball. You can remember, that's another action that he can do. So as well as receive, he can pass. So he's going to move, receive, and pass, and he's only got a skill of 1, which means he's only got a range of 1, but he's going to pass it to his number 11 out there. So we're going to flip the tokens again, and we better put that card in the tactical zone to show it's been used. So that Red's turn is now done, and number 11 is currently in possession. So what are Blues going to do? They've got 4 cards, so they might, with Reds only 2 left. So they're probably not too concerned at this stage, but they are worried that they're a bit lopsided and players have been drawn over to their left, so they need to get players over to the right. So the first thing he's going to do is play their number 3 player card to activate number 3. And there's not a lot he can do other than move. He's got a move of 2, so we'll put the card in the tactical zone. So he's going to move 2, 1, 2. He's going to come across and bolster the defence a bit, link up with his number 2 in defence, and hopefully act a bit more of a protection in case the Reds start coming down that right hand side of Blues. Now that's all that he can do is move in that particular action, and we switch back to the red side. Well, now this seems like a good opportunity to use the Reds number 11 card to activate number 11, and he needs to get moving down that wing. That's his role. He's the nippy winger, so he's got a move of 3, 1, 2, 3, and he's going to be looking to get round the back of the Blues defence. Now he could pass. He's got a skill of 4, which means he could pass to anywhere within 4, but in this case, no, he's going to hold on the ball. He's going to hold on to the ball and retain possession. We'll put his card up there to show it's been played. Reds now down to 1 card. Blues still got 3 cards remaining, and they're wondering about what they can do about this number 11 coming down the wing. They may well be thinking, could he be activated again and get himself in a shooting position? So what they're going to do to see if they can get in position where they might make a tackle, they're going to play that teammate card, a defender teammate card, which means they can move the number 3 again. He's going to continue to move across to try and see off that number 11 if he can. He can't do anything else other than move with that card. The teammate cards, remember, just 1 move only, no other actions. And we've got 1 card left for Reds, 2 cards left for Blues. Now Reds down to his 1 card, but because he's in possession, remember, the last card turn order rule doesn't apply here, so he can't retain that card because he's the team in possession. He's got to play that card, and so he's going to play that referee card. And how does that work? Well, the first thing you do when a referee card ever appears, you're going to have to move that timer track along to show we're into the game. So we do that, and then in the pre-season friendly, other than using it as a move yourself general action card to move, remember that any other player other than one with the ball or one that's been activated, what he's going to do, he's going to use it for its single special action, which is play to the whistle. And all that is it's take a card from the deck and add it to your hand. So we've got to put that in the tactical zone, and he's going to gain a card. And we'll switch over, and it's the number 9 player card, which is exactly what Reds were looking for. Back to Blues again, and now they see an opportunity to get back into the game because they can play their assistant coach card. And as with the manager card, it's got 2 special actions. It's similarly got the up the tempo special action, but they're not going to use it for that. They're going to use it for the and again son special action, which is to reactivate any player card in the tactical zone. So we're going to put that over there, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to reactivate, well, they've only got 1 player card in the tactical zone. It's number 3. So they're going to reactivate number 3. He's got a move of 2, and that allows him to move into that space and attempt to tackle. So we look at number 3's tackle value, which is a 5. Now in this case, he is in his own half, so he will be able to roll the full 5 dice. Remember, if he's outside his own half, he'll only roll 2 dice, but he's in his own half, so he gets the benefit of rolling 5 dice. And in the example of play, we find that these are the 5 dice that he rolled. And he's got a yellow, 2 whites, a red and a black. So let's refer back to the PSF results table again. Again, we're looking down that bottom row for tackling, and if we look at that first column, did he roll a dice of his colour? In other words, did he roll a blue this time? And there is no blue, so his tackle was not successful. So if that's the case, we look along to the second column. Did he roll a single black? Tackle single black, and lo and behold, yes, he did. He rolled a single black, which means it's a foul. So unfortunately for Blues number 3, he's committed a foul on the number 11. So how do fouls play out? Let's just move this card out of the way. Well, first thing he needs to do is get displaced outside, and he'll move back into this space here. Remember, any empty space adjacent will be displaced to. And then because it's a foul, he's going to lose that player card, and he's going to be put that in the underperforming space on the edge of the board. Now, in the pre-season friendly, unfortunately, that card is lost for the rest of the game. So Blues are going to have to get at least one more player card from the dugout for number 3 into their deck in order to get 3 fully active again. But for the moment, they've got no Blues number 3 player card in their deck, which is a bit of a concern. When you've learned some of the additional rules, there are ways of bringing that card back, but for the PSF, that is lost for this game. So the final thing that happens as part of a foul, well, number 11, the foul player, he has a choice whether he wants to pass the ball or not. He doesn't have to, but he's got a free kick, so he can pass the ball for free. And in this case, in order to keep his options open, he's going to retain the ball. He could have passed, if we looked at number 11's skill value, it's 4. So he could have passed up to 4. He could have passed it all the way back to number 2, for example. But no, he could have passed to number 9 or an empty space, but he's going to retain the ball. And he's going to retain the ball. He's got, now of course it's red opportunity to play their last card. And of course they're going to play that number 9 card for their striker. And he's going to be activated to take possession of the ball through a receive action. So we're going to flip that over and show that number 9 is now in possession. So he's made the receive action. Now he's going to undertake his move action, and he's got a move of 3, 1, 2, 3. So he can move around the defence into the box. And now he's in a numbered space. He can take a shot. So how is shooting resolved? Well, we're going to need again to roll some dice, and we're going to need to refer to that results table. So first of all, we need to calculate how many dice he's going to throw. First thing we do is we look at his skill value, so 3, so we roll 3 dice. Then we have to look at what space he's in. He's in a +1 space, so we add 1 dice for that, so we're up to 4 dice. If he doesn't have an opposition player adjacent to him, he does add a further dice, but we've got number 2 adjacent to him there, so he doesn't gain that extra dice. So number 9, he's going to be rolling 4 dice in order to resolve his shot. And in the example of play, he rolls a green, he rolls a red, he rolls a blue, and he rolls a black. So again, we refer to our results table, and this time we're going to look at the shoot for goal row, and that's divided into 2 parts. And the top part says 2 plus dice of your colour. So you have to look at your dice that you've thrown. So did he roll 2 dice of his colour? So he's a red player. So did he roll 2 reds? So that, no, he didn't. If he had rolled 2 or more dice, that would have definitely been a goal, and Reds would have scored. Nothing Blues could have done about it. But he didn't roll 2 reds, he rolled 1. So we look at the other half of that shoot for goal row, and it says 0 to 1 dice of your colour. So you look along and you say, dice of your colour, did he roll 1 dice of his colour? Well, yes, he did. He did roll 1 red. So it's a get a hand to it result. If he'd rolled anything else, if he hadn't rolled a red, if he'd rolled a single black or any other result, in this case, it would have just gone to the keeper. The keeper would have made a save, and Reds would have been in possession. But no, he did get a single red. So that means it's a get to hand to it result. And what that is that basically his shot was on target and he may score with it, but the opposition goalkeeper may make a save. So we'll put those dice to one side. So in this instance, the opposition will now roll. We'll look at and look along this green row that gets a hand to it row to see if his goalkeeper is able to save the shot. And we'll just signify that by putting the loose ball token on the number 3 space like that. Flipped it over. Now it's no longer in possession. And when you do a get a hand to it action, the goalkeeper will roll, or the manager will roll one dice only. And in this particular example, Blues roll a white. So we look along the hand to it result. Did he roll a dice his colour? No, he didn't. Did he roll a single black? No, he didn't. And it's a goal. The other result's a goal. So in this example, the goalkeeper was unable to save it, got a finger to it, but didn't quite do enough, and Reds have managed to score. So we'll put that back. And at this point, obviously we've just scored, and we're going to go back and do another kick-off round. So Blues will be taking a kick-off round again because they've conceded it. All cards will be put back into the deck, not the one that's in the underperforming pile, that stays there, but all the other cards will go back. The deck will be reshuffled, both decks will be reshuffled, and we'll start another kick-off round. So that is the example of play in the rulebook. I hope it covered enough situations that you're going to encounter when you play the game for the first time. Obviously, if you've got any questions on that, if you've got any uncertainties or any confusion at all, please leave a comment. But I hope that was useful, and thank you very much for watching.